Mac, thank you very much for your time. We'll try to work out the camera part of it, but thank you very much for your time. Can you try to explain the electricity, the atmosphere, and Texas beating A&M when so much was on the line really for Texas A&M too?
David, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely amazing, and I do think it was a difference in the ball game. We had great atmospheres when we were at Texas, but I've been to a lot of different stadiums, and I've never seen the electricity, the fans make a difference like they did on Friday night in this ball game. I thought it was a huge difference, and made it really difficult for A&M.
Mac, I was just kind of opining on A&M in the game, and they had two 5-yard penalty, 2 false starts down towards the goal line and opportunities where they really needed to score touchdowns. When you're in rivalry games, most of the time field goals don't get it done, and they had those, and it wound up leading to a blocked field goal and then a field goal attempt in points where they could have, when Texas wasn't playing well, kind of put some distance in between them before the Longhorns got hot. When you were coaching, which penalties bothered you more, 5-yard penalties or 15-yard penalties?
Well, Paul, it's the nature of the penalties. Number one, you can't have pre-snap penalties. You can't have offside. You can't have motion. You just can't do those things. Those are just lack of discipline. And you can't have post-whistle penalties. Because with post-whistle penalties, you've hit somebody late, you've gotten frustrated, the guy smacking back. It's always the second guy that gets the penalty. So pre-snap, post-whistle penalties, and turnovers are absolute killers for ball game. Now, most penalties are either holding, which is subjective, or pass interference. Those are the two that you get the most. And you've got to be careful with your quarterback. I've heard a couple of penalties for trying to get the ball intentional grounding. That's tough because you want to take it back, but also you don't want to put your team in a tough spot for intentional grounding.
Coach, what have you made of the Texas offense as of late? There was a lot of hand-wringing the last few weeks, the lack of a run game, and then we see Wisner pop big on Saturday. You know, Arch obviously is always going to be hotly debated, but he's really been playing well. They've made some tweaks on the O-line. What do you think's been working the best, and what has Sark and company done on that side to really improve that side of the ball?
I think they've found their identity. They know who they are now. And they've really struggled throughout the year to figure out who they were and what they were doing and how they were doing it. They had some injuries, and that made it tough too. But I do think that the biggest thing is that now they know who they are, and they're Wisner played like he did last year during the ball game. Arch is starting to make plays with his feet, and the quarterback that can run is just an absolute killer for the defense. Wingo is getting better, getting more confident. The other kids are getting healthy. The offensive line is very inexperienced. They get better every week, and they're just not getting to a place that you know what to do. So Sark had trouble with play selection early because different guys were out there. He usually goes to the tight end. He hit the tight end a couple of times the other night. It was critical, but the tight end hasn't been part of the offense this year. And I do feel like that listening to what you guys said earlier, Texas is trending. They're a better football team right now than they've been throughout the season. And I don't know what that means for the playoff committee, but it is important that you get better as a football team, and they're a better football team today than they played Ohio State.
Mack Brown, former college football coach. We all know Hall of Famer. Garrett, let's stop the video because it's a little bit different. We'll call him on the phone. Coach, if you don't mind, we're going to call you on your cell phone and get you hooked up a little bit better audio too. With UT now in that discussion because you have the conference championship weekend and then the final standings released, the rankings released on Sunday, and we'll know the seeds 1 through 12 when it comes to the college football playoff. There are some scenarios where UT, it's going to take a lot of help, and they didn't get that from Alabama or Oklahoma with those teams both winning their games on over the weekend, among a couple of other teams as well. So we'll have Mack Brown reconnected here in just a second on 365 Sports. Also, by the way, we will have Brett McMurphy, who was following, of course, the Lane Kiffin story, the coaching carousel, and so much more. We'll have him here at the bottom of the hour. One other note, and this is for the Pick'em. Corey Michelson won the Pick'em again. North Star Funding Partners Pick'em. He's the second time he's won. He went 10-0. And we will have one more we'll set up when it comes to the conference championship games. Mack Brown rejoins us now on 365 Sports. So, Mack, with the resume, and, you know, Sark was doing what he should do among whatever else is the narrative. They did play at Ohio State. You did in 05. You won that game. It launched you into a national championship season. Aren't UT fans, don't they demand those type of non-conference games, at least one of them per year? Would you like to see them have to give that up?
David, I would like to see everybody have to play one and make it across the board. We beat Ohio State in 05, but that probably cost Ohio State the national championship shot because they were probably the third best team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And that game came down to a 25-22 game at the end. But I do think that the committee's got to really figure out who they are. We had trouble with 4. Now we're having trouble with 12. If we go to 16, we're going to have trouble with 16. 17 and 18 are going to be mad. That's just the way it is. So as a media person, I was asked about being on that committee, and they wouldn't let the media on, so I didn't get to do it. But they would have us in for a day, and we would go through this with them. And I watched it, and it's a very good process. But there's not a human factor in there about what happens if Florida State loses their quarterback and they're 13-0.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if Ole Miss loses their coach and they don't have an offensive staff? Is that going to keep them out of the playoffs? Because they're not as good a football team right now as they would have been if Charlie Weiss Jr. is calling the plays and you've got a head coach that's been with them for 6 years? Are we looking at who are the best teams, or are we looking at the resume? Because we're the best teams at the end of the year, and obviously Texas is one of the best teams now, but is the loss at Florida, the overtime at Kentucky, the overtime at Mississippi State, the bad loss at Georgia, even counting the loss at Ohio State, are those going to carry more weight than beating a ranked Vanderbilt or a ranked Oklahoma or a ranked Texas A&M? I mean, that's what you have to look at. And the other thing I believe, David, I don't think that we should have a group of 5 team playing in this playoff. I firmly believe they should have their own national championship playoff. Let Tulane and James Madison and North Texas be in a playoff by themselves, and we'll watch it. That's going to be great football with like teams that have the same budgets and the same opportunities, the same level of play. But if you put a North Texas in against Georgia in an opening game, that's not fair. That's not fair to the kids. And if you put those teams in, you're keeping a Texas out possibly, a Vanderbilt out possibly, that deserves to be in there more than they would. So I really believe it's not it's a factual statement. It's not a statement saying those teams aren't any good. They're really good. But for them to have a chance to win at this level, they don't have the money now to buy players like the others do. And the other thing I think we'll see at some point, we'll see conference championship games go away again. And we'll start seeing tiebreakers. Yeah. And we'll see less of the major teams, the Power 4 teams playing the group of 5, because we're going to have to cut the schedule back if we continue to expand the playoff. And we've got to look at the calendar, too, for the coaches. We've got championship games this weekend, and signing date is on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just makes no sense for the guys. So as you look at this committee has to decide who are the best 12 teams, and if Duke beats Virginia on Saturday, that means that there will be a 5-loss team in. So are we trying to get the best teams in the country? Because I always felt like that the conference champions should have a spot in. I think they should have a spot in if they're ranked at a certain level.
Mack,
that's the only way.
You coached at Tulane, and I think this is a fair question. When you were at Tulane, would you still want that same no group of 5 team involved?
Absolutely, because with all the group of 5 teams, we could still have 12 of them with a chance, or maybe even 15, 16, 18, like the Power 14. We would still have 12 to 15 teams competing this weekend in championship games to see who gets in their playoff. What we're doing is we're down to 1. And they're going to have to play on the road against a great team in their opening game. And that's it. So the rest of them are going to bowl games, which is fine. But I really believe everybody would like to win a championship. And that's important. When I used to coach at Appalachian State, when I was when I was raising money, helping them during TV days, raise money at Appalachian State, they were going to an upper division. And I said, you're winning national championships now. I wouldn't go up. Well, they've gone up, they've won bowl games, and it seems to have worked for them. But to me, I think we should have a Heisman Trophy winner for that level. We should have a Butkus Award winner for that level. And we should have a national championship game for that level. So those young people, when they start the season, those coaches have a chance to get to their playoff. Not just 1, but 12, maybe 16 next year. But I think they should have the same chance and rights that the Power 4 group is having right now.
Mack, it seems to me that part of the problem, look, you had to lobby back in the BCS days, which I even went back and like YouTube's like some of those press conferences. I could tell you didn't like doing it because you felt like I shouldn't have to do this. You guys can watch the tape yourself. But it doesn't feel like college football as an organization is working together. It's like everybody is running in different directions and seeing who, can pull in that direction the furthest. And that's where we have to get to, though, right? Where everybody starts working together.
Yes. Nothing happens without alignment. Right now, we're not aligned in college football. We are all over the place. You have to have alignment. You have to have a strategic plan, and you have to have a group of people that care about your product enough that in the end, they make that strategic plan work. And that's what's going to happen. The committee this weekend, we got human beings on the committee. And somebody's going to be mad, like we said at the end, but is it the best team? Is it the team that played the hardest schedule that's the best team? Is it what looks like the eye candy says, if you're 10-2, you're better than 9-3? I think that's what we've got. What's subjective about who plays in the playoffs? And these folks on that committee have to come together and decide, what is our formula to put? Is it the best teams, or is it the teams that are going to look the best at the end? What are we doing? And I don't have a clear picture right now of what that looks like.
Mack, what is Mike Elko trying to do now? Because that was obviously a gut punch. They had a chance to play in the SEC championship, go unbeaten, play Georgia, and then all of a sudden they blew a tire in the second half, and give Texas credit for that. They're the ones that popped it. But how hard will that be for him to, or is the off week with no championship game maybe a good thing? They'd rather be in it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. David, this won't be popular with all my friends at Texas, but I'm a Mike Elko fan. I watched him at Wake Forest with Dave Clawson's the defensive coordinator. He did an unbelievable job at Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. He was the head coach at Duke for 2 years before he came against me at Carolina, before he came to Texas A&M. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They're tough. I'm sure they're really disappointed in the game the other night. But he's a tough, hard-working, go right back to work guy. So A&M could be a force. Marcel Reed's going to be a great young quarterback. I thought Arch played better in the second half than Marcel, and it might have been because he got banged up. He got hurt. And Vince Young and I are on the Stampede podcast every week. He works with Marcel. He helps him, and he believes he is a superstar going forward. And I think that too, because you see him make those plays. But it's I don't like people saying, I wish we weren't in the conference championship game.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then we shouldn't have them.
Right.
they're still champions, and they're still the best team in your league, and that's really, really important. And I remember Steve Spurrier saying once the conference championship game is more important than us beating Florida State, when Florida State was an independent or in the ACC. And I'm sure the Florida fans didn't like that. But to me, if you're going to play it, man, it's important to win. And if you want your team to get better, it's important to get better and move forward. And they said, well, Carson Beck got hurt in the championship game last year for Georgia against Texas, so that hurt them in the playoffs. You can get hurt on a bicycle. Ricky Williams played in the bowl game against Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, our first year here. Ricky Williams played in the All-Star game. Grant Taft said, I know he's not going to play. Could he come and be a captain? And Ricky said, I want to go, man. And I said, why would you play? And he said, because I love football. That's why I play, Coach. I could get hurt anywhere. And then David and Paul were sitting in the we're playing Michigan in the Rose Bowl. And you're right, Paul. I stood up for our team. Sark stood up for his team. Every coach better stand up for their team. That's their job. That's their job. I wasn't trying to get Cal in the Rose Bowl. I was trying to get people to understand that we deserve to be in. And my job was to educate people that didn't know as much about us. But we're in the Rose Bowl. Cedric Benson's our tailback. We lost Cedric a few years ago, which was a tragedy for such a young guy to be gone. He's going to be a top 15 pick in the first round. He hyperextends his knee on the first play. He comes to the sideline, and they say, I don't know that I'd go back in, Cedric. You're a first-round draft pick. The doctor's doing it. He says, tape it up, man. This is Texas, Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I'm going to play. He plays the game. He doesn't play great, but they had to tackle him enough that Vince played great and made a lot of extra yards because Cedric was in there. After the game, I talked to the team. I talked to the media. I go back, and I get dressed, and I'm walking out of the locker room at the Rose Bowl, and Cedric Benson sitting in the corner by himself in his full uniform crying. He's the only one left in the locker room. And I said, are you okay? And he said, yeah. He's wiping his tears. And he said, yeah, I'm okay, Coach. I said, is it your knee? And he said, no. I said, so what's wrong? And he said, this is the last time I'll ever wear a University of Texas football uniform, and I don't want to take it off. Now, that's what we're missing right now in some of this. I don't want to play in a championship game. I'm not going to play in a bowl game unless it matters. Well, how can you be the captain of your team, a leader of your team, and your team is going to a bowl game if they couldn't get in the playoff, and it not matter? It matters. Team matters. Winning matters. It matters for the rest of your life because you did what you were supposed to do to finish the journey that you were on. And that's where when I hear conference championship games aren't important, come on, man. What have we gotten to when a championship game is not important? If it's not important, let's don't play it.
Mac, that was a great story. I was thinking about that game against Michigan, and it's weird how little things affect other things. The butterfly effect of Cedric being a little dinged up. I think that Rose Bowl game was kind of where Vince put the rest of the country outside of the Big 12 world on notice that, hey, this is going to be something to deal with now, too, because, you didn't have Cedric at full speed, and then Vince had to kick it up a gear.
Yeah. If we don't make a 4th and 18 at Kansas, then we don't go to the Rose Bowl.
I know.
I mean, so Kansas was important. We don't go to the Rose Bowl. If we don't beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, I'm not sure we beat USC the next year because that put our program in a different level. It told us we're second, we could be first. And Vince stood in the middle of the field on that stage, and they said, Vince, what about the game? He said, we'll be back. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm telling this team and I'm telling our fans, the national championship game is played here next year. We'll stay in the same hotel. We'll practice at the same place, and we're going to beat USC on this field because all this was preparation for the national championship. So I agree completely that game against Michigan elevated our program to a different level.
It reminds me of high school coaches now in Texas who go and visit. Remember, Texas Stadium or somewhere where they have the championship games now at AT&T to kind of give them a feel for that. And not everyone eventually does that, but it kind of gives them that look, except you actually played at a big boy game against a great opponent too to get there. Mack, my question to you then, I know you're enjoying retirement, but you're never retired. You're going to be doing a lot, and you have the great podcast with Vince, et cetera. Have you ever really thought that if you were given the opportunity to run college football, that you would enjoy that, or would that be something you would want to touch with a 10-foot pole?
Well, David, number one, I will never retire. I'm rewired.
I know.
I like rewired. I don't like retired. It sounds tired and old, and it sounds like you've got that you're limping around with your head down. I'm not shuffling yet. I'm not drooling, so I'm good. I'm in a good spot there. I would run college football if we had an organized process in place where we could get things done. Grant Taft was a great president of the American Football Coaches Association. And when I was on the board for a number of years and became the president, we had a process and we got a lot of things done. We got 10 coaches instead of 9 for college football. We got so many things done, but Grant sat there. We went through it as a board. We asked all of our coaches in college football, and we had a reason and a process, and we got things done. Right now, I'm not sure who's in charge. So I wouldn't want to be involved unless you could get things done. If you could get things done and it's still not a popular job, it'd be controversial, but we've got to stand up and get things done. The calendar's bad for the kids and the coaches. The NIL's bad for our fans. I don't think it's great for the kids. I think they should be paid, but there should be a process. The coaches are making more money than ever. They're all miserable because they're all over the place. It's just absolutely crazy what's happening with them. And we've got donor fatigue. Our poor donors are still paying for facilities. They're still paying for parking. They're still paying for season tickets and game tickets, which are really expensive. And now we've got all of our sports calling them, asking them for money for NIL. So this just isn't sustainable. And it's not healthy right now with all the kids transferring so much. We're going to have kids not graduating. And when they don't graduate, they're not going to have a community to support them. They're not going to be able to get jobs. And then I'm really worried that we'll have some mental health issues. So I really believe that we've all got to get in one room together. A lot of smart people, and we got to get common sense in this thing and get in one room and start making some changes and making them quickly. And we got to make changes that are best for the sport, not best for your school.
Happy Thanksgiving and holidays to you, Mack. We appreciate your time. I know it was an unbelievable electric night on Friday, and we appreciate your time today. We really do. Always great to have you on the show.